Hello, welcome back to Al Talks. Um, yeah, another week, another podcast. So this week is been an interesting week. Yeah, bit of a trip down memory lane for me. I was just walking home one of the days, and I was listening to just a general metal mix on Spotify. I can't remember the name of the playlist, but Black Sabbath came on, and it brought me back to when Joey Diaz, he has this huge love for Sabbath. He used to buy the Sabbath records, and he used to go see them at Madison Square Garden for like $10, $15. Um, and he used to take acid and listen to Black Sabbath. So he has this deep, deep connection with them. And for me, the band that I would have just this connection and love for would be Motorhead. Unfortunately, I never got to see Motorhead before Lemmy died because they broke up. The band split up after Lemmy died because, well, really, I mean, there's no Motorhead without Lemmy. And yeah, so I just got the one little thing got me thinking. I tell you a story as well that somebody told me. I can't remember what year this was, but somebody told me that when their friend used to be the manager of a nightclub in England, and Motorhead were coming to that town, and they were going to perform there. And the manager specifically told goes, no matter what happens that night, do not let the Jack Daniels run out, because that was Lemmy's drink of choice, was Jack Daniels number 7. Like, there's umpteenth pictures of him drinking it. He loved Jack Daniels. Like, even in metal bars, you go up and you say, okay, I have a Lemmy. A Lemmy's a Jack Daniels. So yeah, there's a cool bit of information for you. Yeah, I remember reading as well after Lemmy passed away in 2015. He called Ozzy. Ozzy put this up on his blog, I think, or on his website. I can't exactly remember. I don't think Ozzy has a blog. If he did, it'd be quite funny to read, because Ozzy's quite a character as well. Ozzy Osbourne, obviously. Um, so, but he had the phone call with Lemmy, and Lemmy said to Ozzy, he said, if I didn't drink or smoke as much or do the drugs I did, I could have had another 10 years. But he said, but what would have been the point of those 10 years? He said, I enjoyed my life. And, I mean, between him and Ozzy, they encapsulated. Obviously, there's more musicians that encapsulate the whole sex, drugs, and rock and roll persona. But like I said, you can Google pictures of Lemmy with cigarettes in his mouth or his hands, walking around with full bottles of Jacks, taking swigs out of them. Obviously that lifestyle catches up to you, but it was also, it was their persona, you know, and obviously, Lemmy's gone, and the legacy that he leaves behind is one of, a great story and perseverance. It took him a long time to get, because Lemmy originally didn't start with Motorhead. He started with another band, and Motorhead always had constant change of band members. They all had to battle through that. I mean, because when you look at it back then, they started playing Lemmy actually never considered himself metal. He considered himself more heavy rock, but I think there's always been debates about this, but I don't know. For me, I would consider them metal. Yeah, I mean, when they start playing it alongside Sabbath in England, that really transformed the music scene there. Because back then the biggest stars to come out of England were the likes of the Beatles, the Stones, and so they did change the world, and they influenced a lot of people and the likes. But yeah, that was just a little thought that came to my head while I was walking. Now you get to know a bit more about my connection, a bit of trivia there about the bar in England. I forget the name of it, but if I remember, I will let you know. And another thing, Dave Chappelle came on the JRE Experience, and if you're interested in any way in comedy, you definitely check that out. Dave Chappelle has only had one more episode previous to that, and I think Daniel Rollins was there, and that's another really good episode. But this was back when Joe Rogan was still on not Spotify, on YouTube, and I remember one comment that somebody had left that I'd read, and they said, Dave Chappelle speaks and sometimes he's funny. And this couldn't be truer recently. Like, Dave Chappelle has become, he went from being this comedian having a sitcom to somebody who walked away from Hollywood, one of the first people to do it, then to come back at and he's become such a frontal figure in comedy. He'd be right up there with Kevin Hart, Chris Rock, Martin Lawrence, Dave Chappelle. Undoubtedly he's one of the greatest comics ever. And even in that podcast, he was saying things, and things come to him naturally, and he's just so funny. Like, that's one of the reasons why I mentioned in previous episode the Stevie Weeby show. Like, if you read the comments for Stevie Weeby show, he's like, he has a structure, but then he goes off on tangents. But he is funny. Like, some people just are, like, they just make you laugh. I have friends like that. They say certain things and we just roar laughing for hours on end. But I mean, that podcast was really, really special, because he explained. I think I mentioned before, he called in a stand-up set. He called out HBO for using his the Chappelle show, and he called Netflix out, but they took it off, and then they paid him, and they put the show back on. But Dave Chappelle got paid for the episodes of that were released or streamed on HBO Max, I think it was. But and that's something was he had to do it, because it's his show, it's his creation. I'm kind of having similar thoughts about. I'm considering, obviously that episode doesn't the episode that I lost, but during that episode that I recorded with Kieran and Gary, we were we discussing to go on different platforms, and he said the most important thing is your intellectual property, be it your band, be it your podcast, be it your comedy. That is yours, and you should never give up those rights. And that's what HBO did to Dave Chappelle. They took the rights from his creation away, and that's why he went on line. The set was recorded, and he called them out because it is wrong. The same reason like why this is my creation, and it's not a control thing. It's, I take time out to do this. I've been doing it for, this is episode 18. I've been doing it for a while, Obviously, I'm still new to this. I've been having problems with whatever else. Funnily enough, haven't seen one encoder issue pop up, so fingers crossed this the issue's been solved. Yeah, because what was happening, encoder issues would pop up on the CPU with spike, and it's fairly low at the moment, so it's not even surpassing 20%. So that's good, because before it was at 50%, because this computer is, I bought it to do college work. So it's not it's not a gaming PC. It's just for college work. That's why I have a console. So yeah. Anyway, but yeah, that was a brilliant podcast. Definitely worth to listen. If you listen to that podcast, you definitely can understand why Dave Chappelle won the Mark Twain award for comedy. It's 100% deserved. It couldn't go to a better person. Is there anything else? I mentioned Stevie Weaver show. Listen to more of his episodes. I really like the way he does his podcast. But I watched one with I think yesterday. One that he did with Sasha Grey, and he had written like George, who's one of the producers in Tiger Belly, Bobby Lee's podcast, Steve's brothers, Bobby Lee, like I've mentioned. And George helps him record his one, and he's always like, he has notes prepared, much like myself. For today, I've only 2 notes: Dave Chappelle and Motorhead. That's what I want to talk about. Guess that's what's in my mind. There's another topic that I was thinking about discussing, but to be honest, I don't really think I want to go into it, because it's a bit personal, so I'm going to leave it. But I like how during that episode he was like, I have these notes written out. He was getting Sasha Grey to read her own bio that he wrote for her herself. And then he's like, are you happy now, George? Are you happy? Because he's always like getting me to do this stuff. But like I said, this currently is a one-man show. In the future, I think I might try and get a team together, maybe even a co-host to do this with me. Just for funsies. Ali Makovsky always says that, just for funsies. But I don't mind doing them solo, but maybe every now and again have a co-host, or something, trying to figure out. I'm kind of on the line about that ever since the last episode. I have 3 minutes of it, but about a minute and a half is usable. Don't think that episode will ever see the light of day. If somebody wants to buy it, on the other hand, you're more than welcome to. Speaking of buying things and business, if sponsors that I would love to get on board, and if anyone is from their company's representatives are listening, VidHit, I use VidHit a lot. VidHit is a great drink, great alternative to soft drinks, which are filled with sugar and other horrible things. And Manscaped, because we all, as Manscaped put it, below the equator shaving, we all need that. So if you could put it out there to the universe, if I could get those 2 sponsors aboard, I'd be very, very happy. And maybe BetterHelp too. And that's something I'm considering actually using myself. And if Elon Musk wants to give me a free Tesla, maybe that, or a job at Tesla. I am a qualified engineer, so there's that. Elon, hit me up. I think that's pretty much it. Just keep looking at the screen, waiting for that encoder message to pop up, but it hasn't, so we're all good. But I am going to leave it there, and As you see you all next week. Maybe next week I'll get a sponsorship. Maybe I won't. Who knows? But stay tuned and we'll find out together. Thanks for watching.